Hello everyone, we welcome you to Awaz Entertainment's Canadian Mosaic program. Today we are presenting a special conversation, a special show on Peel Region's dissolution. Honorable Mayor Brown, Councillor Rowena Santos, Councillor Vicente, we welcome you to Awaz TV's special transmission on the dissolution of region of Peel. This series of conversation is called Canadian Mosaic, and this is the first conversation we are holding. We'll continue with this, and we might come back to you also after hearing from other stakeholders. So I will be directly into the questions. Mayor Brown, I have been following your interviews and basically your frustration also with both the speed of the things and the way unfair deal is being handed down to you. So generally, what are the residents of Brampton feeling? How are your sentiments about it?
Well, I think there's a level of nervousness and trepidation. At the end of the day, we've contributed to building the Region of Peel since 1974. And the water treatment, the wastewater facilities, the police headquarters, the paramedic facilities in Mississauga, we've paid 40% of the cost. And, you know, if they want to break up the Region of Peel, they're entitled to do so. You know, if you have, you know, two members of a marriage and one member wants to leave, then naturally there's going to be a divorce. But under law in Canada, you split the assets. And so when I hear Bonnie Crombie saying she wants to walk away and not pay anything, that's offensive to my hardworking residents who have paid into the Region of Peel since 1974. This is not her water treatment plant. This is not Bonnie Crombie's police headquarters. We have built it. We have paid for it together. And every cent we put into the Region of Peel, we're going to get back, and we're going to stand up for our residents. As I've told Bonnie Crombie, this is not Canada's Wonderland. There are no free rides on the backs of Brampton residents, and we're going to be calling on the province to make sure this is done in a fair manner.
One of the examples you once gave that you go to a dinner and the other person says, oh, I forgot my wallet at home. I think that was also very apt. Councillor Vicente. So the next question is from you. In your view, did this announcement come too soon for your expectations, or were the representative ready for it?
I know that we all know that the city of Mississauga has been talking about going its own separate way for quite a long time. But that being said, one of the principal concerns that we have as a city here in the city of Brampton is the speed at which this change is being recommended. The province is looking at a very fast 18 months transition. And, you know, that may not be enough time to undo a organization that took over 50 years to build. The Region of Peel is one of the most well-run, most efficient regions in all of the country, and it does its work very well. We know from all of the metrics that the Region of Peel is one of the most efficient regions in all of Canada. And so to undo all of the necessary parts, which at the end of the day provide essential services to the residents of Brampton, Mississauga, and Caledon, we are very concerned that the work be done, and if there is to be separation or division of responsibilities, etc., that it's done fairly and that it's done in a way that ensures that residents of Brampton are made whole.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from you, Councillor Santos. Do you think Ma'am Hazel McKellion's passing away expedited this bill, or there could be other factors also? Like the timeline, it suggests that Premier Doug Ford probably wants to do it before the next elections. So what are your reflections on that?
You know, I think the city of Brampton overall, we were not the ones who actually called for this. We are not the ones who wanted this. So in terms of other motivations with respect to an expeditious time frame on the dissolution of Peel, I think we need to ask the province or even Mississauga those particular questions. But at the end of the day, I think some of our concerns in Brampton, particularly from our residents, you know, with Mayor Brown hosted a telephone town hall where there were thousands of residents and we were talking about dissolution of Peel, you could hear the anxiety in their voices, and they very explicitly said that this is unfair to us. We invested and helped Mississauga grow. And when I talked to other councillors who sat at the region in the 1980s, 1990s, they say to us at the table at the time, it was always anticipated that when it was Brampton's turn to grow, that the region would also contribute, and therefore Mississauga would would also contribute to our growth. And now it's Brampton's turn to grow, as our residents shared in that telephone town hall. And Mississauga is going to leave without paying the bill, or they want to leave without paying the bill. It's absolutely delusional to think that Brampton and Caledon don't deserve our money back when we paid for so much of their growth.
Thank you. Mayor Brown, next question is from you. We have been hearing your reservations. Two key reservations are about the timeline and the division of assets. So what would be your demand or expectation that what type of formula would serve Brampton's purpose as well?
Well, we would need to rebuild police headquarters, a water treatment facility, a wastewater facility, and we need to complete the regional roads in Brampton. So it's going to take some time to look at how much that's going to cost, because there's been inflationary pressures on the construction sector, and how long it's going to take. You know, building a water treatment facility could take 5 years, optimistically, and so this is going to be in the billions. You know, what it cost to build something in 1974 is very different than what it costs to build it today, and just on the servicing side. Right now, the Region Appeal's own staff say to meet the provincial growth targets, we have an $11 billion shortfall just for the Region Appeal. And so there are a lot of questions that need to be answered, but the basis for this conversation needs to be honesty, transparency, and we're all going to contribute. No one's going to try to cut corners and to steal from another municipality. And, you know, I appreciate there's been some Mississauga councillors saying they recognize that it needs to be fair and equitable. And I just hope that we're going to start to see the mayor take the same tone. I think her challenge is she's told her residents it's not going to cost them anything, and it will. The reality is every study, Deloitte, Ernst & Young, the provincial reviews, everything says it's going to cost her residents to have this breakup. And so I think she's struggling with the commitment that she made and the reality of the facts on the ground. But we're certainly not going to be paying for her promise. You know, the residents of Brampton, you know, whatever false promise she made, it's not our responsibility to pay for that. Every cent we put into the Region Appeal, we want back.
Thank you. The next question is from Councillor Vicente from you and Councillor Santos from you. This is about the number of like hospitals. There is a discrepancy in the sort of you know, distribution of hospitals. There are 3 in Mississauga and 1 in Brampton, and Brampton has been asking for a hospital for many years. I understand. I have been hearing for the last 8 years myself. So what can be the inventive solution in the interim for that? Like, if one hospital in Mississauga is dedicated for the Brampton residents, would that serve, or you would like different allocations for a new hospital?
Well, Arshed, we just think it's time that the province recognized the rapid growth of the city of Brampton, and within the context of the dissolution of the Region Appeal, it's time that we start to get our fair share. Historically, here in the city of Brampton, we have had only half the number of hospital beds as compared to other municipalities, including Mississauga. And in the city of Brampton, we declared a healthcare emergency in the previous term, and we have been advocating tirelessly for additional funding from the provincial government. We're very pleased that here in Brampton, they have funded the construction of Peel Memorial Hospital so that it can become a full hospital, but we know that we need more. And so it will be on us as representatives here at the city to continue to push for additional healthcare spending. As to whether or not it could be mandated that a hospital in Mississauga is required to take patients from Brampton, I think that's already the case. Wherever a patient decides to go, they are expected to receive care. But continue to push for additional healthcare spending. And, you know, Arshed, let's not forget that with the dissolution of the Region Appeal, what will happen to the incredible team of professionals at Peel Health? They were responsible for all of the work during the pandemic. They did an incredible job of ensuring that Peel residents were helped and made safe during the pandemic in terms of vaccinations, et cetera. And we're very concerned to see that Peel Health will continue to serve Brampton.
Councillor Santos, your views on that?
Yeah, and just to further reiterate Councillor Vicente's comments, you know, the city of Brampton, our population is projected to surpass Mississauga over the next few years or so, and yet we only still have one hospital. In speaking to some councillors who used to sit at the region of Peel, and they were angry representing Brampton, way back when, many years ago, there was a levy at the region that was a healthcare hospital levy that Brampton, Caledon, Mississauga contributed to. But guess where all the hospitals were built? They were all built in Mississauga. And so what does that mean now for Brampton, now that that funding formula has changed? We need to make sure that we have access to that level of fairness in order to support our rapidly growing community, where we were already behind in terms of hospital healthcare.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor Brown, similar is this. Yes, please.
Yeah, I would say that the province is already committed to the second hospital in Brampton. We don't want to confuse the hospital debate with the division of the region appeal. They've already approved that second hospital, so getting that hospital has nothing to do with how assets of the region appeal will be divided.
Thank you for highlighting that. I think that's a very important point. Sometimes in this confusion, they say, oh, you are already getting a second hospital and let's push that item off the agenda. We are having a great conversation here. So let's take a short break and resume this conversation after the break. Welcome back from the break. So, Honorable Mayor Brown, next question is about the division or distribution of institution of higher education, colleges and university. And there is announced formerly Ryerson, presently Metropolitan University has announced a medical college university. But what are your views on these institutions of higher learning?
So we're ecstatic to have a medical school. One day I'd like to have a full-fledged Brampton University as well. But it speaks to the momentum we have in Brampton. This is not related to the region appeal, but whether it's the Lululemon factory, the Magna factory, MDA, the med school, there's a ton of momentum, and it's why it's important we don't have any unnecessary roadblocks hampering Brampton's extraordinary growth right now.
So the next question is from all of you, and then we are just left with two more questions, very quick ones. So what are the residents of Brampton asking you to do? I mean, what are their expectations from their public representatives? So Honorable Mayor Brown, and then Councillor Vicente, and then Councillor Santos, please.
Yeah, I think right now residents want answers. There's a lot of confusion that's been caused by this announcement. We don't just expect fairness, we demand fairness. And we hope the province will address this, but I would say we're ready to fight and stand up for our city if we have to. If we have to take a legal route, if for some reason the province doesn't ensure an equal distribution of assets, everything's on the table for the city of Brampton. Our residents are not going to be pushed around and bullied.
Councillor Vicente.
Yeah, thanks, Arshed. You spoke about the timing of this earlier. We just are on the heels of a pandemic. People are just getting their lives back into what we call this new normal. And the timing of the dissolution of the region appeal coming on the heels of that is really, questionable. Is now the right time for us to be reorganizing one of the largest regions in the country? We have interest rates on the rise, housing is expensive, and people are having to pay more cost of fuel. Everything is more expensive today. And potentially we have a major change coming that could further worsen situations in terms of higher tax and costs for residents. And, that's one of the concerning aspects of this as well. What will be the impact at the end of the day, dollars and cents, for the people of Brampton?
Thank you. Councillor Santos?
Yeah, in addition to what Mayor Brown and Councillor Vicente have shared, many of those residents who are feeling that level of anxiety, uncertainty are also staff at the region of Peel. Many of those residents also work at the region of Peel, thousands of them. And so I think it's important for us to also remember the incredible hard work that the region of Peel staff have been contributing to all municipalities, but also the uncertainty that they face. And that's very concerning for them as well.
Because they have like two sides of the same thing, and we will ask Councillor Santos you first, then Councillor Vicente, and we'll end with Honorable Mayor Brown. It is about for a fair deal and soft landing of this transition. what are the ballpark figures of the timeline? Like if they had given say 3 years or 5 years, and on the other hand, is there a ballpark figure for like how many $billion? I mean, you did mention 7 billion, and there are sounds of 10 billion. So are there any sort of any proposal from Brampton, like this should be the appropriate timeline and this should be the compensation, which not only the city of Mississauga but also province should be ready to pay for?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, that is what we're all trying to figure out and get answers for. The preliminary numbers that we have shared are up to $11 billion or more. Just service capacity alone that is required to support Brampton's growth is up in the billions. But all of those are just scratching at the surface in terms of what is fairly owed to the city of Brampton. We're not even yet capturing the economic spin-off benefits that Mississauga received from all of that infrastructure investment from the region that Caledon and Brampton forfeited in order to support Mississauga's growth. So, you know, like we're just scratching the surface right now, and certainly with our team in Brampton, we'll be digging further into the details of what those numbers might be.
Thank you, Councillor Vicente.
Yeah, without question, Arshed, we will be pushing the province to really answer the questions. We know that they are appointing a 5-person panel that will look at the region and figure out how to dissolve each of its individual parts, a restructuring, if you will. Some of us have called it triplication of services and what will be the impacts of that. But, you know, what's really important for us to remember is that at the end of the day, we want to make sure that services are maintained, and that if you're living in Brampton, that you don't see any change to the quality of service, because at the end of the day, you pay taxes and you have an expectation for service. And so for us, we are going to be working as hard as we can to ensure that Brampton is made whole, that we get our fair share, and that services and the quality of those services are maintained.
Thank you. Honourable Mayor Brown, the last word.
Yes, so I think Councillor Vicente and Councillor Santos have been eloquent in their response. We don't know how long it would take to rebuild this infrastructure. We don't know the cost. You know, when you have a major infrastructure project, there's environmental assessments required, property acquisitions acquired. You know, the $11 billion figure that Councillor Santos mentioned, that's servicing estimates for all of Peel region, what it costs to build one for Brampton and acquire the property. We don't have estimates on that, but it's in the billions. This is a costly exercise that the province has embarked upon.
Thank you very much for your time, Honourable Mayor Brown, Councillor Vicente, Councillor Santos. We expect to follow up this conversation with you in December, when there is 1 year left to the proposed timeline. I hope that timeline extends. But thank you very much for your time. Have a very wonderful day and very good week ahead.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching this special transmission. As I mentioned in the program, the dissolution of Peel region has a timeline of roughly a year and a half, and we plan to hold more conversations going forward with other stakeholders like in Mississauga and Caledon, the mayors of Mississauga as well as the mayor of Caledon, and then we will hold a follow-up conversation with the team from Brampton, Honourable Mayor Brown, and probably other councillors or the same. So thank you very much for watching, and keep tuned for more interesting conversations like this.